Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hamster's Hobby Hang. Good to see y'all. Hippo's making dinner classic. Which mat? This hobby mat? It's I don't know. It's not branded, or it's not like a hobby brand. It's just like a cutting mat. If you look it up online, it's um yeah, I don't know. Sorry. I don't really get like a specific. It's like the common craft brand, but not like a hobby brand. Um, but I have another one. When I move here, I'll probably replace this because this has like glue happening, like glue blobs. Oh, Relic Blade with the trolls that I painted on here. It was an incredible game. It should be a quick social media battle report that Chris is gonna voice over and edit and stuff. Um, the trolls were awesome. They're kind of like a classic like goblin synergy where it's just like there's kind of a boss that is buffing all the other models and they want to be like close together. And they're all fairly weak, but they have good synergy and to buff each other. And so I was just kicking butt and I was killing models off. Um, but it was a thing. It was like attack and defend. So Chris had like 5 turns to keep me from running off the board with the objectives, and so I cut it too close. Where I was like, well, if I start taking his models off the board, then at the end of the game, I can just, you know, run over to the objectives, pick them up, and run off the table. Um, which almost worked, but then his last character uh ran up to like my war boss and beat the crap out of it in like the very last turn. It was like I had ran off with one objective and I needed to get 2 out of the 3 off the table, and in the last turn, it was like a full health war boss. I was like, how? There's no way, you know, that he's gonna take me out. But even if he engages me, then I didn't quite have enough actions to like use my full move to get all the way off the table. So he played it really well. Like he basically, I tied him up on. I had like a scout guy that I just wasn't part of the troll synergy, and I put him in like an opposite corner for deployment. And he ran after him and like took him out, but then he very smartly like just sort of like once he knocked him out, he didn't finish him. Like I have a 6 up to recover in that game, but he's like, okay, roll for your 6. I don't have time for this. I'm gonna run back and try to do some chip damage. So basically, it was like all me just like kicking butt, and he was holding his own, but he was like he was his forces were dwindling, and it was a timer basically. And then in a cinematic moment right at the end, his final dwarf, sort of thief looking guy, ran up to the Og Sul war boss and just punched him in the face a bunch. Yeah, just as he planned exactly. Yeah, seventh, I've always thought maybe I should use the measurements more. I don't really use them. I just use it as like a table cover. Um, but especially if I was doing like terrain, like building facades, like siding or something, it would be really helpful if I'm like cutting plastic card or something. Um, but yeah, I mean that's why this isn't like a hobby brand. This is for like all kinds of different activities and other hobbies besides miniatures, like all these measurements and stuff, drafting, and it's a cutting mat, like it's sort of like self healing, so it's for like straight edge type stuff. So yeah, it's neat. I unfortunately mostly just use it to cover my desk. But I really want to play some more Relic Blade, and I have so many freaking models that I just love that I want to paint up eventually. I've had them for years since we started the stream. Basically, I did a bunch of Relic Blade at the beginning of this stream like 5 years ago. So hopefully we can play more of that. We don't have a ton of time these days to like play games. So luckily we like that one we put on the social media schedule for like the battle report video, so we kind of like forced some time to do that. But I still play D&D with my group in my free time, and I've been out of the Warhammer scene since like November. I was like really regularly involved locally for like 2 years straight, and then this stuff got busy. Yeah, I mean, if you just search like cutting mat, and I think that usually, for what it's worth, there's like a black side and a green side. For some reason, that may be useful in very niche contexts. But I don't remember the brand, but I know that I always buy this same one. So anyway, if you see like the black and green with the measurements, you're in the right place. The move isn't super far. It's just like driving a van in New York City is not something I like doing. But I got a quote from Movers and it was very stupid. So yeah, self-healing cutting mats is often, in the name. You're right, thank you. But I've done it before. I've done it multiple times before, and it's never fun, but we'll just do it. And it's like a fairly straight shot. And like there's a U-Haul close by to my home here, so it shouldn't be terrible. Yeah, exactly. I just honk. Yeah. I need to honk just so that people are aware of me. This is why I learned to not trust U-Hauls if you're like a pedestrian or another driver on the road or something, because they let me drive them. Okay. No, it's fairly close. I mean, if I'm driving, once it's packed up, it shouldn't take more than like 15-20 minutes to drive over there. It's just, whatever you're going to encounter on the way is up in the air. But yeah, I just gotta pack up this desk. I have all this stuff on my desk, so I figure I would just call it after the stream, because we have Adepticon coming up at the end of March too. So it's like that's already on the table. I just figured I would call it so I'd get this packed up and just get it done. But then I'm hoping in April I can start again, but I just have to like get the internet set up and everything, because I have internet here too still. Anyway, it's a whole rigmarole. Once we're in, it'll be hopefully easy breezy, but yeah, I mean, it's just mostly like I've been procrastinating packing up the desk because I was like, well, I have to do the stream, which I'm glad that we have done it, but I just need like to open the floodgates on like just pack everything that I see, because there's just like a bunch of little models and stuff everywhere on here. But I have some 40k here, which I haven't painted 40k in years actually. I guess on one we painted like one single dwarf just for fun that I had lying around. Like I don't even have an army for this, but a friend gave me some of these models that I like, so we did paint this. But as far as like for an army, I joined like this new players club at my local game store, which obviously I'm like not a new player. I've been playing Sigmar forever, but and I've played 40k a little bit, like at the top of 10th. Um, but I kind of want to maybe get involved in 40k more locally. And there's kind of like a discount situation with like a store membership and the kits and stuff if you get like the combat patrol box or whatever. So I was like, hey, can I jump in there and I'll do like the hobby events and stuff and maybe help people out? And the organizer was like, yeah, sure. So I've built a whole combat patrol plus a kill team. Like that was the thing. You could do like a spearhead box or combat patrol and then like also a spearhead or a kill team, because the organizer loves kill team. I think he's biased. So he's like, also get a discount on kill team, which those units you can usually use in 40k too. So anyway, I've built all those. They're based up with like the rocks and stuff. So I thought I'd do a test scheme or two if we have time. One of them is obviously going to be like a classic red, but I still want it to be like kind of dark and sinister. Like I don't need to do like the cartoony blood red that I often see. And then I thought I'd try one that's like black with some red accents and everything. Usually I'm really trying to deviate from like the classic box art paint schemes for Warhammer, but if I can, I haven't painted a lot of red for like an army ever. Like I've never done like the main color is red, so I thought maybe I'd try it and still maybe make it my own, but it can still be red. Otherwise I'm fine. I still like the idea of like just do a black. But yeah, I have the model kind of separated out. I kind of made a game plan, as you can see here. Starting out, it's obviously like slightly warmer areas for like the red and brass, which are sort of the corn colors, and then just right off the bat making it cool elsewhere for sort of the separation. And almost the reverse here, like this stuff will either be red or brass. But the black would be kind of like bluish, blue-gray highlights, so I did like a warmer base. So I don't know, we'll try that. I have a bunch of models, so we can always test stuff. And it will sort of change too, because the cultists don't have armor on them like this. So there'll be a lot more like skin and stuff like that, which I have some ideas for, but anyway, we'll get to painting. I also want it to be fast, but I still, we'll see if it works out, but I kind of want to try just my hobby hang layering approach and make it still speedy reasonably. You know, with my Stormcast, it's like mainly airbrush and there's very few details picked out. And I feel like I've speed up enough just from like hobby hang practice that I can maybe still pick out some cool details and get some cool textures going on and stuff with brushwork and still be reasonably fast. Anyway, it's all an experiment, so we'll see. Oh, I will say this, I decided this even before I had Khorne models or Chaos models. When I was just thinking about collecting the army, I ain't gonna do trim. I ain't gonna do a bunch of trim. That's a nightmare. Maybe some of it I'll pick out, but not in a different color necessarily, you know, like a lot of times these armies, it looks really cool when it's done, but it just seems like not something I want to paint. I'm just like hitting all of the trimmed out edges. It's like, you know what? I don't need to do all that. Okay. Well, let's just start throwing some paint around it. I'm gonna try kind of the red one first, probably. start back here just to kind of lower stakes area, you know. I think I'm gonna keep it a fairly coolish red. Maybe get like a little orange in the highlights, but mostly more like kind of a skin tone-y highlight. I still want it to be like kind of scary red. Not like Christmas red, you know? But I still want it to be... I mean, this is the challenge when it's like generally darker. It's like still have enough high contrast for like table view and like crappy game room lighting, you know? So I think we still need some of this big red. No, I tend to like really exaggerate the upper mids and highlights. So for my initial vision, at least, I kind of need to make sure I don't overdo it now that I'm approaching that area. But I don't want to underdo it either. Hello, welcome, welcome. That's doing a thing that I like. Kind of getting the saturation out of the red a little bit. That's kind of what I was going for. It's like a dark, demonic sort of red. Not like cartoon demon, but Yeah, I like the symbols on the shoulders and stuff. They're cool, but I'm not gonna differentiate the color or anything. Hey, I appreciate it. No, it'll be good. Yeah, that's kind of how I was imagining this red. I'll have to see, like, when the rest of the model gets painted, how it looks. But yeah, like, enough contrast to pop, but still kind of dark and scary. Alright. Now I want to do, like, a couple... At least one, like, brassy sort of color detail. Because that's one of the, like, in-lore colors, I guess. Tone chrome, nice. Getting a little messy on this thing. It's kicking my butt a little bit. I'm just getting impatient. Alright, now I know this might look a little too, like, pretty for corn, bloodthirsty corn berserkers on the weapons, but I'm gonna do my kind of classic hamster NMM for, like, steel. Just because it will pop off the red pretty well, I think. Maybe we'll add some. Here we go. Well, I'm gonna add some of this Viridian. That's maybe too blue. I want it to be blue-ish, I guess. Hello, David. Welcome, welcome. I'm adding a touch of green in here because that will definitely complement. It might be a little too crazy, but as long as I keep it fairly desaturated, I'm hoping it's not too crazy. But it will look nice next to red. And there's already, like, other colors helping us out, so it won't be just green. So I think I can get away with it, like having a greenish note in the metal. Oh, don't worry. There'll be plenty of unpainted minis. Fortunately, most of them are like in boxes. A little easier to store, like on sprues. Hi, Donnie. Dolly's wondering what the heck I'm doing over here instead of paying attention to her. I love a purple base coat. This thing kind of has a purplish base coat. Sorry, I couldn't tell if I overshot, which I did. I mispainted an area. I was debating in my head doing the eyes or not across the army. But I mean, if I had my way, I would, right? Snorks. Yeah, we just had that big snowstorm out here, but now it's getting warm. It's like 45 the past couple days. I keep bumping this freaking camera, I'm sorry. It's looking like an earthquake. There we go. That's a little more oomph. Haven't painted one of these plasma pistols in a long time. Trying to decide how I want to sell the effect. Getting pretty close. Oh yeah, any kind of lighting thing is definitely my favorite stuff to paint. And once if I'm, when I'm painting the army, once I've done like a bunch of these, they'll go pretty fast. I just need to decide like what my little template is. that'd be that'd be cool if these were painted like big eyeballs, even if it's in the world like not real. It's just like a camouflage thing of like trying to fake size, make yourself look bigger. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I've just been doing like a brush only method mostly because right now most of my that's not Dwarven Forge terrain. Most of my painting is like at my tiny desk at home. So I've kind of just out of necessity like practiced brush effects. And I like the control it gives me, and it's pretty fast now. Like, I'm not sure an airbrush would make it much faster. Like, I've showed this off on stream here before, but like, I love how this turned out, and it was like, this whole model was like 20 minutes, because it was mostly just like graved. Like, make sure you can see the feathers, but then like, pretty much the whole thing is the OSL, so if I just spend time on that, that's like the whole paint job, you know? It's funny because I actually like I also used to this is totally personal preference, but I also used to just like start with white, but I actually start with dark now and just map up like the entire limit that the uh light is hitting. But it's kind of low stakes, low pressure. I can kind of experiment because it's so dark that like there's not really going to be a mistake as long as I'm like patient and sort of just pick out the general orb of light. Um And then from there, it's just like highlighting like anything else, except making sure the source is the brightest thing. So I actually started with like this color, this really dark red. The color on the base might be too close to like the weapons now. I don't know. Does that occur to you all out there? Maybe not. Maybe I'm overthinking it. All right, appreciate it. I think, and I don't mind if they're related because then it looks kind of cohesive. But I don't want them to, yeah, like a found weapon, like they're made from some chaotic magic in the earth, like an ore or something. I like how this turned out a lot, though. Maybe I'd punch the highlights out on the red. So I had a couple hobby hang models that I was pulling. Like, I like this red on the right, but it's not the red I wanted for this. Like, that's what I was kind of trying to avoid. But I also don't want it to be too dark, so maybe I need to push the highlights a little more in a small area. Maybe we have time for that. And I was kind of going for the red on this a little more so. It's not quite the same. It's kind of in between those two, right? So this is kind of scary. Yeah, all these are great. Like, for each model. Like, I love this red on this guy. But you'll notice, like, the highlights are a little more orange. And there's more of the mid-tone, like, showing off the really bold red. And this is on the cooler side. Yeah, that's a cool model. I think that's Rangers of Shadow Deep, like special named character maybe from North Star. Savalon. Are you talking about which edge highlight? The skeleton shield? This one's kind of orangey. They're all oh, the marine. It's probably somewhere in between these two. Like this is kind of orangey, and this is a little more almost like a skin tone, right? Like a Caucasian like flesh tone. Um, and this there is white in it. Like I'm mixing everything here, but um, I might do one more that's sort of a punchy flesh tone. But it is, well, I'll show you on the palette. It's like this. This right here. Now, the challenge with red is always, if you over highlight it, it goes so that like the surface looks pink or orange as opposed to red. So I don't want to like do too large of a highlight area. But I think now that the rest of the model is painted and I have a sense of like all the values, we can do one more pass of like a top highlight. Just be a little careful and precise. You out of here, Zoop? Thanks for hanging out. Really trying to do tiny placements of this. This is kind of like the lens flare effect, like a top highlight. Oh yeah, I have another webcam somewhere, and for a long time I've been thinking about having it like setting up a palette cam for you all, because on Hobby Hang I just mix everything now. If that would be interesting, it would just be like in the corner. I wouldn't want it to take up a bunch of screen space necessarily, but like just in the corner. And then maybe I can talk about some color mixing stuff if you want to try it yourself. It was definitely a bit of a learning curve, but now it's like I don't want to paint another way because I just have total freedom from mixing everything, and I can adjust on the fly and kind of get whatever I want mostly. So I really enjoy it. I do have fluorescent paints here. For stuff like this. But most of this, I was using a fluorescent blue and then I just switched to this and white. So I do have like a good selection of fluorescents, like basically for glow effects. But then everything else is like this has fluorescent all over it. But right now what I like is you can get this like this Liquitex acrylic gouache. It's not gouache, they formulate it to behave like gouache, which is matte watercolor but in acrylic, and that means it's kind of formulated like hobby paints, which are matte acrylic. Normally like artist acrylic is kind of glossy or satin. So, and they're a little creamy, like they have some fluidity to them, like medium and stuff. So they are formulated quite a bit like hobby paints, but they're one or two pigments, so they mix more intuitively. Like if you've ever noticed, like, oh, like blue and yellow make green, right? But then you mix a random hobby blue or yellow and it kind of gets weird and muddy, and that's because there's random pigments in their mixes, primarily white, like there's extra white, so which is going to desaturate everything. So this just gives you like full control having single pigment paints, and they come in like big things like this, but there's a set of like pretty much every paint you would need to start in like a 12 paint little starter pack with these small ones that last forever on minis. So that's what I do. But if you find any like single pigment or like one or two, like green obviously is going to have 2 pigments minimum, but just like basically single pigment paints that you like in acrylic will kind of starts to unlock the mixing for me, at least it did. Yeah, this is just a random one that I have. I mean, fluorescent in general is always kind of finicky, like it needs help. Like it's kind of more like a final step for me. It's not like the primary color because it's so weirdly transparent and weak almost. Like the fluorescent effect is the main thing that it's doing. Like it's doing the fluorescent more than it's doing the blue. Do you know what I mean? Like, because blues like this are gonna be like super opaque. That's what the square filled in square means. So I normally like this is a good example again of all of this is non-fluorescent until you get to the eyes. Just for like the opacity, like the fluorescent will rarely get opaque, so that's why it's best for the source where it's primarily like that's where you do like a white base coat and glaze it with an airbrush or a brush. But I got frustrated like starting with fluorescent to do a glow effect because it makes sense, right? You're like, I'm gonna do fluorescent, but I basically just break it out at the end now. Yeah, it looks better with that extra highlight. There's some kind of messy parts, but as I practice the scheme, if I really want to paint this way over an army, we'll see, but yeah, I'm glad I can be helpful. Like, so much of this came from almost forced practice out of like frustration. Or just like solving problems by being frustrated with like what I think I'm supposed to do, and then just trying stuff. And everyone has their own preference, but you have to kind of discover your workflow that you like by trying things, right? Like, again, I only really learned color mixing because I was like, I don't have a lot of space for a lot of materials, but I have to paint a lot of different minis for the stream at home. So I'm just gonna like take this minimal set and like try to figure it out. And, you know, sometimes I was banging my head against a wall a little bit, but just that little bit. I mean, I do this once a week, right? And I wasn't painting a ton at home, like, outside of that. So it was just that regular chug, 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 practice, practice, just that little bit. And it totally unlocked a new thing for me, so. I guess the big thing that I wish I learned way earlier is to not buy supplies because you see them in a tutorial or something. Try to translate it using the materials that you own, because I could have saved a lot of money and space buying fewer paints. Like, I have hundreds and hundreds of paints, and I rarely use anything outside of like these 12, like maybe 20. Sometimes I'll change out which blue am I using in the palette, which yellow. So I don't know, maybe 20 paints, plus including like the fluorescence. Now, I'm glad that I have them because I can do a test model like this, mixing, and then for an army, maybe I can find a pre-mixed thing in my collection for the steps to like speed it up. But anyway, yeah, it really is. Sometimes it's an annoying answer, I know, but it really is just like practice and experimentation. And I guess I would say take note of that when you are frustrated. Like, you know, everyone was doing contrast paint for a while. We all love contrast paint, but if you're not someone that like relates to that workflow, just because you see cool results from someone else using contrast paint, if you start to get frustrated, take note of that and be like, you know what, I'm going to switch it up and try to solve a problem that's like, maybe you don't even know specifically what it is yet, but you're like, I'm not in this workflow. I'm not in the flow of it. And try new stuff. That's how I came to this. That's why I used to prime everything black, and now I rarely start from black. Like, such, to me, for my style, like, so few areas need to be pure black. Like, I'm fine with like really deep stuff, but that's pretty much it. And even that still has some paint in it. I'm starting more from like a purpley base. Like, look at these. Like, there's pretty much no black. And this isn't a new thing. Like, you see this all over Instagram and stuff, right? But just try, like, that's the thing too. If you have favorite painters you see on social media, try to just like examine the photos and be like, what do I like about it and how can I replicate that? Like, a lot of this came from like looking at Craft World Studio and like how they have so many exciting, like, not random, but just like really lots of different saturated colors, especially like left in the shadows. And so now I'm trying this, and that's what this started even wackier, where what's on this base is pretty much where this one started. And yeah, like up close it's kind of outrageous, but it's a really cool effect on the table, you know? Especially there's kind of like this orb of shadow like underneath from just the pose. Yeah. So I experimented with like gray primer, and actually I don't mind a black prime now because I will just base coat it. It kind of depends like which paint I'm going to use to base coat. But I basically get to like a dark mid-tone. Like a lower end but mid-tone, not fully super duper dark. I mean, not really. It's still gonna be used as a shadow color contextually, but I guess it turns out now for what I like to do recently is it doesn't really matter the primer color because I'll just cover it up with something weird just to have something to leverage and leave behind. Because you see in the hobby hang too, for a while it was also like dark blue and then like that brown mid map. Like from here we would just do brown everywhere. I enjoy that too, just for opacity, and all these steps are just getting a little extra leverage out of it just by virtue of like setting yourself up for like little accidents. It's kind of how I see it. Yeah, I'm still excited to try this like primarily black and then some red and brass, just because like I really like how this looks, this red. But you know, the all red berserker is the classic thing. It's kind of been done. I really like the greenish blue weapons next to it, so I like this look a lot. It's gonna be tough to beat, I think. But just for the sake of variety, I'm excited to try this one here. What don't you like about the eyes on the spiders? How to find the thing you want to achieve and still enjoy the hobby is one of the big benefits of hobby hang. Yes. Yes. Like when I say I get frustrated, it's like a fun thing. Like if I'm going to feel frustration in life, at least it's a problem that I have fun solving, you know? That's why I love miniatures. I don't think I'll do metallic. This ended up a little too gold maybe in the center, but I'll probably just do, I don't know, I just prefer to non-metallic, not for the sake of it being non-metallic, but just so that I can control the reflections and like the drama of the lighting. Kind of like how this sort of has this diagonal like highlight to dark, even though that's not like fully realistic. But we'll see. I mean, the thing about metallics for me is I just have run into shiny flakes like bouncing off the brush and getting in areas I don't want them, you know? Thank you. Yeah, non-metallic is another thing I did on Hobby Hang, where I was just like, you know what, I'm painting. The first time I ever tried non-metallic was live on stream. Can you believe that? Like 5 years ago now, probably? At least 4. And I was just like, you know what, I was gonna try it. Just gonna try it. And I totally understand the feeling. I feel like the trap is like, well, miniatures are expensive. I want them to look cool. I don't want to mess it up, air quotes. But that's how you learn. And, you know, for better or worse, you got to try it out. And I think I've gone on this speech like fairly recently on Hobby Hang. But how you're seeing me paint on the stream, all of it's non-metallic metal. Everything is drawing the light the way that you choose to sell the illusion of the light. So unlike the pack or the armor, which isn't necessarily like shiny, I'm still just drawing to tell you the story of like the light direction and the drama. And then the only difference on non-metallic is selling the illusion of it being metal, which is just make it even more reflective, which is just put light and dark the same way you would draw it elsewhere on non-metal, but closer together. Like, this is just through observation. Look at Google images of metal. Like, how do you sell that? What makes it look shiny? What makes it look reflective? If kind of how I picture it is like if you hold a flashlight up to a mirror, right? You see this big bloom that's like circular. It just looks like the flashlight. Now, metal that's really shiny especially is close to that, but not quite. So it's literally just like spots of light, almost like the flashlight held up to a mirror, but then it bounces around. And the thing about it is, like, to not get too worked up about doing it right is there's no way to do it right. It's all an illusion. And this is because imagine how they do non-metallic on a 2D canvas, and how it works in real life is the reflections depend on the eye line of the viewer. So if you were to move around, the reflections would follow you, right? And so that's the advantage of the canvas painter. They're picking the snapshot and telling you the reflections based on that single view. We have a 360 view, so it's all kind of a fudge. You're fudging it a little bit. That's why I like doing it super shiny, because the drama kind of distracts from what might be not so realistic. But I'm not worried about realism as much as I'm worried about selling that reflectiveness, which in the sense of drawing the lights and shadows in order to sell it being reflective is the same thing that I'm doing to sell a non-reflective surface. It's just less dramatic, less contrasty. But I'm just drawing light. I'm placing lights and shadows, telling you what's the light side, what's the shadow side, and then exaggerating it, whether it's metal or not. So I hope that kind of made sense. Like, what's interesting here is, for the sake of drama, this is why it's more important to exaggerate and dramatize in miniatures, because we're painting tiny things for the model. So the lighting situation I have chosen to draw is kind of like this. Look at the top corner of the helmet, and it's kind of doing diagonal, right? Down. Now on the back, what that would mean is that the light's kind of doing this, but I didn't do that. I reversed it, and it's doing this again, just because of the direction of the leg, the direction of the helmet. It's more dramatic this way, and I'm not worried about the light situation matching from front to back. If it was a display model, I would, right? But normally on the gaming table, this is either facing my opponent from here, or the back is facing me from the other side. So you're not really seeing both sides at the same time. So I just am picking the coolest light. And they kind of match. Like, the front of the orbs of the pack are sort of matchy-matchy. And this is still doing kind of a top-down thing. Like, it's not outrageously different, but I'm not, like, following the science of if the light's coming here, right? I'm just prioritizing the drama. The 8 eyes glow is great. The OSL around the eyes is too bright. Yeah, that's definitely a trap I fell into practicing OSL. The most important thing for object source lighting is that no part of the effect, nothing on the model, is brighter than the source of light. This being the eyes, right? Good night, David. If you didn't see on Discord, this is going to be the last hobby hang for probably about a month, because I have to move and then go to Adepticon, and then, like, probably after Adepticon, I set up internet and stuff like that. But But yeah, and like other theory stuff. No, yeah, I appreciate it. Um, yeah, I'm excited to get painting again, but yeah, I just have to allow myself to like be able to pack up this desk. It's kind of on the back of my mind all the time. Um, but this is what's fun. This is what I've been trying to implement. Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you. And some interlude of us laying on your face. Yeah. um, but what's cool about what I've been trying to sort of implement, something I've learned recently, is just I think of it as the power of the grays, like gray colors, desaturated colors. And in this realm, they can be almost any color. Like you can see this is shifting greenish, but it works as kind of a gray metal. I could maybe I'll even do some more reflections on the metal here. But it's boosting the red by it being complement. Like we all know Christmas colors, but as long as we keep this desaturated, it can be the greenest thing to leverage the red and green complement. And similar to down here, like there's all kinds of weird colors down here with like green and purple, but it's so desaturated that it doesn't matter. Basically, theoretically, and how to actually execute this, I still need to practice. But theoretically, as long as your values are correct for the lighting illusion that we're talking about, you can use almost any color. You can actually use almost any color, especially in small amounts and desaturated amounts. If you want a thing to appear red, as long as the majority is reddish, for some of this stuff, like you can use almost any color. This is actually true even in this model. Like there's some blue-gray going on here when I was practicing this, and it really adds like a cool vibration to the thing. Like look at it from afar again, you know? But there's kind of the classic like a purplish red into the main red, but then there's this weird like blue-gray happening just randomly. And because it's like sort of the correct value for that area, it doesn't matter that it's not red. So I definitely want to leverage that more, a little more like intentionally. Yeah, do a self-hobby hang on the Discord. That'd be awesome. I think I will just do one more or a couple more like highlights here. I don't need it to be as shiny as like, I know I tend to go really, really shiny on my non-metallic just because it's fun. I don't want to go full sheen on this, I don't think. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'll probably stop there, especially for the test. But this was fun. I think I can, you know, the separation is fairly simple. It's like weapons, it's like armor and non-armor, basically. There's a little detail in the chest, but I think I could get this to be done pretty speedily once I've done it a few times. So I don't know, this will be tough to beat right here. I like that a lot. I still will definitely, I've already kind of mapped this thing out. Rare case where I am starting with black because it's going to be a black surface, so we'll try that out. It's going to have a lot of blue-gray on it, probably. But I do enjoy painting black. It's another new challenge. Similar to red in the sense of, like, if you over-highlight it, it starts to turn not black. So how do you make it read as black? And basically, my rule of thumb is just you can highlight it as bright as anything else, but just in very, very small areas. Just so that it's mostly black, like spatially, like the area all over is more black than anything else. But anyway, I think that will do it for tonight. So thank you everybody for hanging out. The next time you see me will be post Adepticon in a new place. Oh, awesome. I'm so glad you're liking that stuff. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's fun now. It's always fun. Like I paint all the bulk and I'm staring one piece at a time, right? I just see them by the dozen. And so when I start to see builds happening, it's really fun to see. See how it all comes together. You know, we're pushing stuff together like when we're designing it. But as far as like there's that stretch of just it's all a blur to me doing the bulk painting, and then I kind of come out the other side and see the cool sets they're building, and man, that's really, really fun. Did you see have you seen the pine trees? What do you think of those? They're a little on the colorful side because I'm trying to do like a, you know, through the camera lens, like what does the blizzard sort of look like? And I tried to do one that was like a green tree with a white dry brush, and it was sort of boring. But I'm interested in what people think of sort of like the frosty, they almost look like Technicolor Feywild, like icy trees, like they're been covered by like an avalanche. As opposed to just like trees that are in winter, you know. I don't know, I probably not on stream. But I know they've been shown like in the past at least. I don't know about this yesterday. I like the frosty trees. Okay, good. There's been some conversation about it, like it looks really cool. But I've just had that worm in my ear for a little bit here. For a few seconds a few weeks ago. Okay, good. No, I mean, I love it, but you know me from Hobby Hang, like, I like to add weird colors, you know, everywhere. Like, look at the skulls. You know what? My favorite thing about this is, well, it's everything in context, but the skulls, they started, like, this is sort of that desaturated colors thing I was telling you about, where, like, I started super green-gray, and then it kind of went, like, yellow. But it still looks kind of bony, like weathered bone. You know, even though there's like very little like bone white in the mix at all. So anyway, we will talk more color theory, more mixing, hopefully set up the palette cam soon after I'm all set up. But in the meantime, happy painting. I'll miss ya, and I will see you in a little bit. Say hi if you're going to Adepticon. All right, everybody. Have a good night.